action, bang. It's GT the Vibe Podcast coming after another episode. How y'all rocking today? How y'all doing? I appreciate you guys rocking with us. As long as you have, I hope you continue to rock with us as we continue to push a little bit more on domestic violence, as we kind of been speaking about it. A little bit more on the Mica Miller story, the pastor John Paul Miller, Mr. Despicable himself. So this waitress comes out, says that he wasn't acting like a grieving husband. So I didn't think he was in the first place. I mean, dude went to have a church sermon and tell the church people not to say nothing after he said that his wife unlived herself, essentially. Self-induced or whatever he said. Self-influenced, I don't know. He said something like that. Calm and cool, collected. That's a whole nother story from a whole nother time. But this waitress claims that her husband was acting like he wasn't grieving. Basically, he's gave her his number, and this originally started back in October when she had filed for divorce, is what they're going to say here. So he ends up getting this chick's number, or giving this chick his number, putting a smiley face, giving her a big tip. You know, he's using the church's money to try to catch some tail, essentially, using the church's money. So whatever money they was put in the collection plate, my man was using it.
Of a Myrtle Beach pastor's wife. We are learning that the Robeson County Sheriff's Office has released its investigation. Authorities say the evidence they gathered is clear and compelling and have determined Mica Miller's death to be a suicide. Emily Finn joining us this morning. Emily, we understand that a woman believed to be Mica placed the 911 call just hours before her death. What details do we know about the call and any other evidence that helped authorities reach this conclusion?
Yeah, Hannah, we're learning some new details this morning. We now know that Mica Miller called 911 to let operators know that she planned to take her own life the day that she died. Authorities released the audio of her call where she asked them to track her phone so that her family could find her body. Mica was seen on surveillance video purchasing a gun from a pawn shop just hours before her death. The Robeson County Medical Examiner's Office ruled Mica's death as a suicide from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police say they found the handgun in the water near Mica's body. Her death sparking controversy as new details continue to emerge about the alleged abuse that she says she faced from her husband. She filed for legal separation just days before her death and filed for divorce last October. Pastor Miller claimed Mica struggled from mental illness, announcing her suicide in a brief speech to his church congregation right after she died. Our very own Elizabeth Vargas spoke with a bartender who claims Pastor Miller was flirting with her, left her a huge tip, and gave her his phone number. That was allegedly 2 months before Mica filed for divorce. The bartender reached out to him after learning about Mica's death and says that she was surprised by his response.
He mostly just seemed to ask for pictures. He didn't say anything about meeting up. I kind of suspected that it wasn't going to be what you would expect from a grieving husband.
What did he say?
I asked him if there was anything new, like how have you been, what's new? And he said, lots new, LOL.
News Nation has also been able to confirm with a friend of Mica's that her family plans to file some kind.
That's nuts. My man using the church's tithe money to try to get his girl a big old tip, trying to put his digits down on there with the smiley face. That's extra. Nuts. And then she reaches out to him, thinking he's a grieving dude, to say, hey, apologize for your wife. And this dude asks her for pictures. Bro, what? Absolutely, positively. Now, let me run that back real quick. There's some, that's nuts. I'm glad people are speaking out. It's because it is nuts. Like, it's crazy. This is just absolutely nuts. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he'd been doing. And this is crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So, dude leaves a big old tip, leaves his phone number to the girl, and then he's asking for pictures. Knowing him, he's probably asking for nudes because he seems like the type of guy that would do that. And that didn't even me casting judgment on the guy. That's just me keeping it real. Like, this is the type of stuff that he was doing, which is probably why she filed for separation and then, originally filed for divorce in October and then turns around and files for separation a couple days before she ends up death by suicide. So, nuts. I feel bad for her. Feel bad for the people. I feel bad for the congregation. They followed this guy. They probably continue to. That's the brainwash to another level. Like, they continue to follow this guy. But we're going to let her speak one more time because it was interesting what she said. It's interesting to see this on here. You got the whole smiley face and then his digits left on there too, which is probably the reason why she was trying to leave this dude in the first place. But it's the type of guy he was.
His response.
He mostly just seemed to ask for pictures. He didn't say anything about meeting up. I kind of suspected that it wasn't going to be what you would expect from a grieving husband.
What did he say?
I asked him if there was anything new, like how have you been, what's new? And he said, lots new, LOL.
News Nation has also been able to confirm with a friend of Mica's that her family plans to file some kind of a lawsuit against Pastor Miller, despite the 911 call and medical examiner's report appearing to corroborate his story, Henna.
The details should get more and more confusing. Emily, thank you so much for shedding light on this case.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinin.
So it seems like she's saying she texts him, basically checking up. Obviously his wife died, so she's checking in to make sure he's cool because she got his number because he gave it to her on a ticket from a bar that he left his number in a smiley face. So then he asking her for pictures, and this is after his wife died. So he asking this chick for pictures soon after his wife died, which is suspect as hell. But that just tells you a lot about this dude's character, which I've spoken about a lot over the past week. This guy's character is 100% in question, and and anybody in the church with him, the leadership in the church with him, the people that pay his paycheck, the people that appointed him where he's at, they character's in question too. Like, to me, you got to question everybody's character who allowed this shit to happen, because at the end of the day, people with good character will still point out wrong shit. It doesn't matter if it's the pastor. It don't matter if it's the head football coach. I mean, you had that happen at KU. Mangini was over there being extra with the players, and people spoke out. Granted, he took them to some games. They had some good years. They struggled after he left. But because you got good people with good character, they weren't afraid to speak out on what needed to be spoken out on. Whatever is true, you speak out on it and you keep it real. And so they were able to do those things, and they pushed him out. Here you got a pastor, he's in leadership of the church, and nobody is speaking up on what needs to be spoken on. Everybody kind of quiet. And it's crazy that when it's time to speak truth or tell the truth, the first people to get quiet is Christians. They be quiet as hell. Beep, you can hear. It's like you can hear a pin drop. Quiet as a church mouse is the saying that they say. And so they got quiet on this guy, and this guy just out here essentially covering his tracks. They got video of him flopping around on the ground saying he was getting ate up by insects and crazy stuff, like crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect somebody who is sane-minded to do. Now, people will probably try to make the excuse, oh, his wife killed herself. Now that's how he's grieving. Dude never really grieved. He was in front of the camera consistently. And I hope they do a wrongful death lawsuit or something. There's something they can do, because there's definitely an abuse here, 100%. There's definitely grooming that they spoke of from when she started going to the church. So obviously this thing built up to its climax, and then this is the type of stuff that he was doing that caused her to be like, well, I'm done. Like, dude's over here giving his number out to people, to females at bars and all that stuff, and he's supposed to be married. He giving his digits out, putting smiley faces on it, and then as soon as his wife died, he asking for pictures. Like, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I feel like at that point in time when your wife passes away like that, like, you probably disappear for a little bit and just kind of go through the emotions, pray about it, all the things that you teach your congregation to do that you ain't doing for your damn self, which is crazy. Still giving sermons. They cremated her body fairly quickly, which I was shocked. Which by him, I don't know why they cremate anyway, because they say it's a cheaper option. But the dude is a pastor at a church, man. He could have asked for some extra tithe money, and they would have probably paid for the dang funeral, and she'd have been fine. Like, it wouldn't have been an issue. So to cremate her that quickly, people say it's cheaper. I'm not buying that jazz. Never was buying any of that jazz. So Powerful dude down there. I heard his church is fairly good size, so I'm pretty sure he could have been like preached a sermon and they would have gave some extra money, and then he could have had it to where if he needed help with the ceremony and everything for the burial, he could have probably got that paid for. Like, I don't see any issue with him getting that paid for. So that's what's shocking to me is how it kind of went about, and then how it how everything's kind of unfolding. Like, as we continue to go through, we're finding out more and more and more over time about some of his behavior, some of the stuff he was doing, and it's just like, and my thing is like, who knew about it? Like, who, like it ain't no way that nobody saw anything. Oh, we're just blinded right now. We can't see anything. Like, you can't be that stupid. Like somebody saw, somebody knew something. Even from the jump when he was started grooming this girl in the church, somebody saw something, and nobody spoke up. That's, to me, you need to question them people's character too, because they're basically an accomplice in this thing happening. And then after he was found to have a scandal back in 2017 when he cheated on his wife and then ended up marrying Mica, like, he should have been done then, because Mica came from the church, and he cheated on his wife who's going to the church when another chick is going to the church. He should have been fired, but they didn't want to fire this guy. They're going to keep him around. I don't know why they didn't fire this guy, because that's crazy. But you just compounding the drama, and now he was suspended, but obviously he's still employed by this particular church. So you kind of put yourself between a rock and a hard place when people are looking and they're watching this case. This case is huge. People are watching this, and this is not only is this putting domestic abuse on full swing out in front of everybody, but it's also putting Christianity on full swing in front of everybody. Everybody's watching, because the term, I mean, it's just like if a police officer does something stupid, even if they aren't a police officer anymore, you could be retired for 10 years and you do something dumb, they will still put police officer in front of your name when they put that in the tabloids and they put that on the news. And guess who's out in front and center? Police officer. This police officer does this. Even if they're not a police officer anymore, they will still do that. If you were ever in a police officer in your entire life and they could put that on there for clickbait, they're going to put that on there for clickbait. And so not only is domestic abuse on trial here, but Christianity itself is also on trial, because people are watching to see what is happening with this church, because you got the lead pastor of a church involved with some stuff, and so people are watching, they're paying attention. And this is the time where I feel like you have the opportunity from other church leadership to make some better decisions that probably should have been made before we got to this point, but they still have not been made. And so you make those better decisions, and then maybe what it means to be a Christian in America can still hold some higher value and higher merit. But if you don't make some better decisions, then you further alienate people because there's a conglomerate of people who won't go to church. There's a conglomerate of people who won't go to church, that believe in God but won't go to church. You further alienate those people because they don't want to go get involved with that, because that's what they see. It's just like when the news puts out anytime somebody gets shot by a cop. So that's what people see. So people think people always get shot by cops when it really doesn't even happen that often. But they put that out there because it's clickbait. Makes sense. And so they put it out there, and people think that that's the norm, because people don't understand that what you see on the news outlets and TV is not the norm. A lot of times they pick out what is the minority, what happens in every great blue moon. They put that out there, and then that's what you see. And so as this continues to unfold, you're like, it's almost like Christianity is also getting put on trial too, along with domestic abuse, because now people are going to have questions about the Bible. Because what happens when you get in instances like this, people not only question your character, but they question what you believe. And when you question what people believe, that's when it goes into a deeper it's kind of like going down the rabbit hole. Like, you're digging that hole and you keep going deeper. And so that's what's happening here, and that's what I'm hearing, that's what I'm seeing. People are definitely putting out the fact that this dude's a pastor, and so and still a pastor in the fact that he did these things. And so they're questioning, like, what are the qualifications what does it take to become a pastor, to lead a church? Like, what are the qualifications? Like, you just go to seminary school, and then they like, okay, we'll take you. So they're asking, like, what is it? Like, what sets you apart from another human being? Because what this dude was doing, he was not set apart from other human beings. He's doing the same thing everybody else doing. So not only is he doing the same thing everybody else is doing, but he's also leading a church of people he's leading them and doing the same thing everybody else is doing. And so people are questioning a lot of things. There's a lot of questions that are being asked, and there's not a lot of answers happening. And so when you have that mix of things, and especially in a case like this is huge. It really paints a bad negative light on the Western church, what they call it. Because not only are they accusing a pastor of having something to do with his wife's death, he's accused of cheating, grooming a young girl from a younger age at the church, in the church that he belonged to, that he was leading. And so you put all those things together, and people got questions, and they have rightful questions that there's going to have to be some answers at some point in time, because people want to know. We're a culture of being in the know, and so people wanting to know is huge. And so hopefully as more things unravel, I'll probably only do one segment a week on it now, because it's kind of dying down a little bit. But if something new pops up, I'll talk about it 110%, because domestic abuse has kind of been a push for us over the last couple of weeks, and we will continue to talk about it because it's important. It's an extremely important thing. It's something that happens quite often. Something that and there's different types of domestic abuse. You got verbal, where people are just talking down to you. And I always tell you, pay attention to the signs. People get financially abused, which is, don't let people say they're financially abused just because they significant other said they can't buy something. It's not financial abuse. It's deeper than that. But then you kind of get the mental abuse. But the physical is easy to see. It's the other stuff that kind of like piles up and leads to people getting in situations like this. So, but it's been an interesting case. Things are still unfolding as we speak, and so we'll keep an eye on it here at the Vibe Podcast, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about domestic violence, because it's huge, and it's definitely an issue. And then we'll talk about, for people, friends of people that are in relationships where you think there may be domestic violence, reach out. Have a conversation. Tell them that you're there for them. Tell them that, because it's all about being safe. Most people get in these situations, they want the opportunity to be safe. And so for them, if we can make it safe for them to be able to come out and give them the resources they need, most of the time they'll do it. But they have to have those things in place first. So this is GT The Vibe Podcast. So if you like our stuff, please like, subscribe to the channel, share, comment, all those good things. GT, I'm out.